All right, hello once again, everyone. This is Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. And in my last lecture, what I did was I created, I'll show you real quick, a copy of what I've been working on for the BMI program. And what I wanted to do in here was I wanted to add functions. And when I say functions, rather than calling code directly from the different buttons that we have here, I wanted to write functions, and I've got one done. So when you look here, I've changed this. So what do we have? Well, we had before this humongous function, and now it's not very big, but look what happens. All right, so I have a function called getHeight. If when you ask for a height, if you leave it blank, or if you put in something non-numeric, or if you put a height in that's out of range, meaning it's less than 12 or greater than 96, getHeight will return 0. If it returns 0, as you can see right here, we just basically give it the focus and we return. All right, we can check, and I suppose if there's something in there, we can remove it. So we can say txt height.text equals nothing. Okay. Then we do a similar thing with weight. So we say weight equal get weight. And if that returns 0, and it'll return 0 if we put in nothing, or if we put in something non-numeric, or if we put in something out of range, meaning we enter a weight less than 1 or greater than 777. And in that case, we clear out whatever was in the weight text box. We set the focus there and we return. So what this does, as it says, call function to input valid height. So we're going to put here if getHeight returns 0, one of 3 things has happened. Either one, nothing was entered into txt height. 2, a non-numeric, I just put non-numeric value, non-numeric entered into txt height, or 3, out of range was entered into txt height. In any case, in any of these cases, just clear out the txt height text box contents, then set the focus to txt height, then return. That's it. Now what I think I'll do here is I think I'll copy that, because I'm doing a very similar thing with weight. So again, we've got this here that says call function to input valid height, and then if getHeight returns 0, one of these things happen. Well, here we're saying call function to validate weight. So we'll change this and we'll say all these H's will become W's. So if getWeight returns 0, one of 3 things has happened. Nothing was entered into txt weight, Non-numeric was entered into txt, weight, or out of range was entered into txt weight. All right. So in any case, clear out the txt weight text box contents, then set the focus to txt weight, then return. If we get to here, if we reach this point, a valid height and a valid weight have been entered. So calculate the VMI. Now, to calculate the VMI, it needs to know that height that we figured out up above in get height and that weight that we figured out in get weight. All right? So here what we're going to do is we're going to output. When I say output all statistics, what do we have here? Right now we're doing nothing. Okay? So we had here this is calculate BMI, so let's grab this and we'll put that in here. And this isn't going to return anything. Don't worry, if we get an error, we'll get rid of it right away. So LBL BMI.text equals, in fact, what we'll need from here is we'll need the height. We're calling that from main, or I shouldn't say main, but from the calculate button. So when we call it, and we call output all statistics, we'll need to pass in the height and the weight and the BMI. Now again, that might give us errors. Okay? So here we'll say BMI equals calculate BMI. Now it's not showing us anything because we removed the BMI. So double BMI equals 0.0. All right, and here we're saying BMI equals calculate BMI. It's given us errors, so let's fix those errors. All right, so where's calculate BMI? There it is. All right, now it's got to return something. It's going to return a double. And in fact, we're even doing more work than we have to do right now. And what I mean is, we can just return this. We can return 703 divided by weight over height squared. All right, so valid height and weight input, so calculate the BMI. All right, now to this, we're going to need to add, again, int height, int weight, double BMI. All right, so now it's fine with this. We've already done, there's the BMI, but we also need that BMI status, and we haven't figured that one out yet. So let's take this back from the top. All right, we come in here, we'll fix this in just a moment. We've got height, we've got weight, we've got BMI. We call input height. Basically, we get you stuck in there because if you enter 0, that means you put in something bad. So we've already given an error message in there, so we just remove it and set the focus back. Then we input the weight. And if there's anything illegal, we do the same thing. So as it says, if we get down to here, that means that we have reached the, we have put in a valid height and a valid weight. All right. So now we do need a string in here for the BMI status. We'll initialize that to nothing. All right, it's got the green underline on it because right now we're not using it. All right, so let's fix that. So again, we've got here, let's call it. So we got the height, we got the weight. So BMI status equals calculate BMI status, and it's going to need the BMI. All right, again, don't worry if we get errors. We're going to get them all fixed in just a moment. So there's our get height. There's our get weight. All right, there's our calculate BMI. And now for calculate BMI status, this is where I screwed up. It's got to be down here. So what I did was all this output statistic stuff, I put it in the wrong place. So let's put it in the right place. All right, let's grab everything. This is all the BMI status stuff. So let's go back to here. Again, as it says, we pass in the height, we pass in the weight, we pass in the BMI. All right. So we don't have to even do this. We've already passed in the BMI. So we don't need this. String BMI status. If the BMI, and for the status, the only thing we need in here is the BMI. We don't need the height or the weight. Okay. So if the BMI we passed in was less than 18.5, the status is underweight. If it is between 18.5 but less than 25, it's optimal weight. If it's greater than or equal to 25 but less than 30, we've got overweight. And if it's greater than 30, we have obese. Okay? Now I've got here display it, but we don't want to display it because we said that we're going to return it. So we'll say return BMI status. All right, so that gets us back up to here. So you'll notice again in our here we're okay up to this point right now. So we will calculate the BMI status, i.e. the person is underweight, of optimal weight, overweight, or obese. All right, and then finally, the last thing we want to do is output the height, the weight, and the BMI. Now, we've already put in the height, we put in the weight, so we don't really have to even do those. We have to output the BMI, and we have to output the BMI status. All right, so that's what we'll put here. BMI and BMI status. Now it's still giving us an error. Real simple fix. We come down here to where we are outputting this, and we have to say double BMI string BMI status. And boom, those errors are gone. So LBL BMI.text equals BMI.toString, and LBL BMI status.text equals BMI status. We don't need a .toString. It's already a string. That should fix everything. Now, when I say it should fix everything, that's what I mean, but it's everything for the calculate button. So let's look at what else we have here. We also have here a clear button. So let's grab everything that's in this clear button. And we'll call a new routine that we're going to write right now that's called clear all fields. All right, we'll get an error because it doesn't exist yet, so we'll make it exist down at the bottom. Private void clear all fields. We'll paste that back in. Boom. Why are we doing that? I'm going to show you in just a second because it's much easier to show you than it is to try to explain it. Finally, we've got our exit routine. Okay, and there's the clear and there's exit. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to call a new routine called exit program or not, which we haven't written yet. So we'll put that down at the very bottom. Okay, and I think we're done. First of all, I want to run this to make sure it works. All right, so if we run it, are we going to get output? There's our program with nothing in there. No value entered for height. If we put in non-numeric height input, if we put something out of range on the high end, out of range height inputted, if we put in something on the low end. All right, out of range again. So let's put in 72, and then let's go through the same thing with weight. With nothing in there, weight is empty, non-numeric value entered, out of range weight, out of range on the negative side, negative in there also. Finally, if we put in a valid value and we click calculate, there's our body mass index and there's our status. Clear works, exit works. So I want to quickly show you, you might say again, okay, I understand what you did. And maybe you don't understand what I did. But why did I do this? Why did I change this so that we're calling a bunch of routines? All right. Why did I do this? So that, again, we're calling a routine instead of doing it right inline there. Why did I do this? So we're calling this rather than doing it inline. And I want to show you. This is a little bit advanced, but it's really not a hard topic. I'm going to come down and I'm going to come in here and find what's called a menu strip, and I'm going to drag it right there. Okay? And I'm going to put 3 menu items in here. The first one's going to say calculate. In fact, we'll just say calculate. Now we could put one underneath the other, but I'm just going to put them side by side. The next one's going to say clear. And finally, the last one's going to say exit. Now, as of right now, they don't do a flaming thing. But let's make them do something. So calculate. I'm going to change this, all right, so that it's going to call, we'll say here, MNU for menu, calculate. All right, we'll go to the next one here, and we'll change that to MNU clear. And finally, we'll come to the last one here, and we'll change the name of that to MNU exit. And I could just, while I was doing this, I figured, oh, I got another error in here, which I'm going to fix in just a moment. All right, first of all, let's see. For our form, our accept button is set, and our cancel button is set. Good deal. All right, now I'm just going to do these in order, but I'm not going to put anything in this one yet. So clear. Now I can type in clear all fields. All right, and I can come in here for this one, and I can put in, I didn't want to do it from there, I want to do it from here. And I can call exit program or not. Boom. What happened here? There you go, semicolon. Now, it's almost done, but we'll fix the rest in just a minute. But what I want to show you is this. Notice that if I run the program now, so I'm going to put in here 72 and 111, and I click calculate. Okay, now I can clear it here, and I can exit here. All right, but I cannot repeat. I cannot do that yet here. Why? The calculate right now, does it work? Sure it does. All right, but the problem is I don't want to call that routine. I want to get all that code out of there. And I'm going to call here input, let's just call it, how about input and calculate and output. Doesn't exist, so I'm getting an error right now. Okay, input and calculate and and output. All right, let's put that at the very bottom of the program. Private void input and calculate and output. And we'll paste all that back in. Okay, no errors. But what's kind of cool is now, file, save all. Okay, now I can click calculate from here. Well, I thought I could. Well, let's try this. How about this? 72. Oh, I'm not calling it from there yet. That's the problem. Let's fix that. So, from my menu option here, we have to now call from here too. Input and calculate and output. Okay? So file, save all. So now I can do it either from here or I can do it from here. So I've got my program, it's a little more versatile because I can either use the buttons or I can use the menu options. I can even combine them. So for instance, I can put in here 72, 200, and instead of clicking calculate here, I can click calculate here, and I get it. I can click clear here, and I can click exit here. All right. And the reason I'm able to do that directly is that rather than putting code in the buttons themselves, I'm calling routines to do the work. So let's quickly, and I mean quickly because we're already at 23 minutes here, let's go over all this code from the top. Okay, this was iteration 2 of the body mass index GUI program. This is a GUI. Oops. Body mass index program. All right. Okay. Again, in this program, we created functions rather than putting the code directly under the buttons. As an aside, this will help when we introduced as we also introduced menus. All right. So for from the top, we came in here, we created constants. We wanted to be, these were arbitrary, but I said that I expect that the smallest person will be 1 foot tall, the tallest person will be 8 feet tall. The smallest person will weigh a pound, the largest person will weigh 777 pounds. All right? Anyone who's got a BMI under 18.5 is going to be underweight. Anybody who's got a BMI between 18.5 but under 25 is going to be optimal weight. And anybody who's under a BMI that's 25 or more but under 30 is going to be overweight. So why did I use these names? Because 18.5 to 24.9999999 is the optimal weight range for BMI. Optimal BMI for it's the range for an optimal. All right. 25 to 29.999 is the minimum. So 18.5 is the minimum you can have to be optimal. 25.0 is the minimum you can have to be overweight. Let me try that again because I'm wrong. Anything under 18.5 is going to make you underweight. So if your BMI is 18.5, you have reached the minimal optimal weight category. If your BMI is 25, you have reached the minimum category. So this was min optimal. This is min over for overweight because 25.0 to 29.9, etc. And then 30 is the minimum for being obese. These were just, I put these in there so I could type in under instead of underweight, optimal instead of optimal weight, etc. This one didn't make a lot of sense, but I left it in there for completeness. So now notice, under our buttons, we don't have any code. We're just calling a routine. So all that stuff that I explained earlier, all the calculate stuff, we're still doing. And we're calling it directly, so we can call it both from here and from our menu option. The clear, which is just going to clear all. What does clear do? It clears this, it clears this, it clears this, it clears this, and it puts our focus back here. All right. Exit. Same thing we've been doing in all of our GUI programs. It asks the user, do you want to exit? And if you say no, it keeps you there. And if you say yes, it exits the program. Load makes sure that our cursor is blinking in the TXT height text box when we start. We've gone over get height. We've gone over get weight. We've gone over calculate BMI. We've gone over calculate BMI status. And all this is just output the BMI to LBL BMI, output the BMI status to LBL BMI status. Okay? This again will clear all the fields. This will allow us to exit the program. And these were the calls we're making from our menu. All right, finally, again, I grabbed everything and brought it down here. Now, you might look at this and say, wow, you got 350 flipping lines in here. Yeah, but we've got a lot of comments. I did that on purpose. Notice we don't even start with our code until almost line 40 here. And we've got quite a few comments in here. And that's the way that it should be. Now, I'm going to go on. All right, and what I really want to do next is make another copy of this. And I was going to do it in here, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another form. Okay, I'm going to add another form to this. And we're going to have like an opening form. Okay, and then when you click it, you'll be able to go to this page right here. And you'll be able to go from this page back to our opening form. Our opening form will maybe have some text in it that'll explain what BMI is, and a picture that'll explain what BMI is. So we're going to do that in the next lecture. All right. Then it's almost time to go on to our second program. There's still a lot we want to do with this one, but we'll talk about that at a later time. But I want to go on then to this payroll program. All right. And by adding a form to the BMI program, it'll make it easier to navigate, or gravitate, I should say, to the payroll program, because it's going to have a form for each one of the payroll types and some kind of an opening form. All right. So when I come back, I'm going to add the form here, and then after we do that, rather than going on right into the payroll program, I'm not going to do that. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to talk about debugging. So I'll be back with all that shortly. See you then.